Hello friends, and welcome back to Clownie Nerf. As you saw in my last video, I made a promise to my buddy Griever to review his work on the Boomco Farshot that he sent me. Little history with me and Griever real quick. We send stuff back and forth to each other. We met at an NIC war in Jersey a couple of years ago, 2, maybe 3. Time is kind of irrelevant on that, but we started sending stuff back and forth to each other, and we always include little things inside: stickers, candies, pictures from his kids, as you saw in the last one. So this time he snuck in a blaster for me, and it's the Boomco Farshot. Now, those of you know Boomco Farshots, you can tell this one's a little bit different. Well, like any good modder, Griever has decided to mod this blaster and make it one of the only 2 weapons that Boomco makes that seems to be any viable. One being the aforementioned and in my hand Farshot, and the other is the Burst Wave, their more recent shotgun thing. So I'm going to start off by simply just going over the exterior aesthetics, of which there isn't much. And I don't mean there isn't much, but there isn't much. I mean, if you go by the one that I have over here, is the one I came out with, you can see there's a big difference in them. Now, these things, being Boomco, have this shielding on them, which we all know now is photo paper for their smart stick dart technology, which is kind of a neat thing to do, but it kind of gets in the way. I like it with the shield on, so I just kept mine around. I don't feel like losing it because I paid for it when I bought the blaster. And mine also has the slide on the top of it. Now, when you mod these things, there's a problem. The Boomco does something that Nerf doesn't do anymore, or very slowly, or very infrequently, is that they use friction pins to hold their parts together. So, with getting the slide off, most people end up destroying the thing. I managed to get mine off, but as you can see, it sticks because I bent the living daylights out of the pin. So, yeah, it's just nature of the beast. So Griever took his, and he just left it off, which is probably a really decent idea. I don't see any problem with that at all. So, not much on the line, like I said, on the lines. I'm out on the lines of aesthetics on the outside, because there wasn't much to it. No paint, labels and stuff are still on. Did bore out the front, and obviously to make room for the speed loader that was sent to me, like this, and fits right inside. Good shot. Probably has a good seal on here. Excellent seal, actually. We'll cover when I get into the internals of this thing. He has set it up with a keyring adapter, which honestly is not my personal favorite. I'm not the biggest fan of key rings on these things. I don't have a problem with the loop design. It's the key ring itself. They tend to start stretching out over a while, and if you get something with a really heavy spring, they start to pinch your finger. So I'm probably going to end up wrapping it in some kind of tape or something. So that's pretty much covers the exterior of this. We're going to flip to the inside here and see what we got going on. Okay, so what we have here is the Farshot that Griever has made for me. I have taken out all the screws to save the time. It is worth of note that they are just the one size screw all the way around. The problem with the Boomco screws I've had on other blasters seems to be the same thing that Griever had. They have they're not seem to be as well as made as the Nerf ones, or just cheaply made. Once you get them out, they tend to start to strip, so I did have trouble getting some of these, and I am a little worried I'm going to get some of them back in tight enough. So we're going to go ahead and pop this open and set the top off to the side, alright, and grab our little Farshot Boomco rail adaptation that most likely is going to shoot out and smack everything because you lose those screws. Alright, so what you can see here is the internals of the blaster, and he has removed, much like I did, the useless little rail adaptations in here and shortened this whole thing down by taking out part of the internals, if I remember correctly, and it's very simple system inside, not unlike a Night Finder or a whatever the next generation Fire Strike is, with just a simple lever action here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this up and take this out. Now we can see, ooh, that's got a good tight seal in there. Like he said in the letter he had sent to me, he has added a fair amount of what appears to be the Teflon tape, re-greased the living daylights out of it, and he just gluing off here, and added maybe a bumper. I'm not entirely sure. I think he did. I'll have to ask him about that just to make sure. Now this is obviously an Ace 49 that has been cut down some. As we can see, I do know he said when talking earlier he cut part of it off there, which would make it fit because it wasn't catching right. So, looks like pretty much a basic moves, because now there's not much you can really do to these systems to make them better. Well, not much you can do to these systems to get them, let me start that over. Not much you can do to these systems that's out of the box. A direct plunger system is a direct plunger system, and they're all kind of the same deal once you figure them out, as long as the catch is the same, because there's not much real variance between any of these things. You know, just go with what works. He's attached, at this point you can see he's got a nice good seal all the way around it, so he just glued it up and around. A little shell work apparently to make it fit, and has taken a coupler and just dropped her in here and then glued her up, which is good, you know, the basic way of doing these things. So it is a little rough on the inside, as you can see, but who really cares? It's on the inside. I mean, big deal, you know. Good work, I'd say, overall. Especially with the Ace 49. I know the one I did I didn't drop an Ace 49. I was afraid of it blowing out the catch mechanisms and everything, so it's nice to know that will work. My buddy Beaker did one. He dropped an additional spring in it and placed in a spring from his Berserker, which worked out pretty well for him, because he was cracking over 100 feet per second, which, you know, necessarily isn't really the highest of things, but is quite good and right along the lines of par, which you should be getting, I believe, with one of these kinds of systems. So I'm going to pop this thing back together here, and then go back to my go back and do some final thoughts and wrap up video on this. And we're back, and I got the blaster all screwed back together. Now it is as of note that the screws that Boomco or Mattel, parent company, makes seem to have a bit of a quality control with the heads, or cheaply made. So almost all of them are stripped out at this point, making it hard to reopen the blaster. I'll just simply replace them with something down the line. I can probably get them out one more time, but for most people that I've talked to, even the one that I did, they seem to strip easily. It's almost like they really over-torqued them when they put them into the blaster. As a final thought, like I said, the only thing I don't care for is keyring pull, but, you know, it's on there, and it'll hold up until I get it taped or find the heavy clamp-in ones that's used for chain replacement. Griever, I'm very appreciative of this. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to nail you with it come the new season. So, for those out there watching, remember, Clownie is too. Peace.